Someone is asking about letting go of something you know you should be letting go of. It's almost, to give a simple example, it's like there's a piece of chocolate cake there and you know you gotta let go. You know it's the right thing to do. How do you trigger the reaction you want? But that goes for like anything you want to let go of, whether it's a boyfriend, it's your piece of chocolate cake, how to let go of that, or a certain behavior. Okay, so what we're basically talking about here is addiction. I want us to go back and not look at psychology. Let's look at the chemistry, because when you're addicted, whether it's to a cigarette, whether it's to a lover, whether it's to your job, we're all actually addicts of something. Most common addictions are alcohol, tobacco, opioid, prescription drug addiction, cannabis addiction, stimulant, hallucinogenic, inhalant, gambling, internet, sex addiction, shopping addiction, food addiction, video game, porn addiction. And we have many addictions, but the most common one is addiction to negative thinking. We can also be addicted to bad, toxic relationships. Addiction that we have to some people, right? So we're talking about being free of our addictions. How does one actually behave differently? Because you know what the right thing to do is. You know you're not supposed to take, I don't know, heroin, but people take heroin even if they know it's destroying their life. But in the basis, everything is a chemical addiction. It's a chemical addiction. It's a mental addiction. It's a chemical addiction. So the first is to realize, yes, I am attached here. It all has to do with mindfulness. That's why we work mindfulness so much, because most people don't realize they have it until it's too late. Okay, so we're always practicing mindfulness. I don't think there's really no easy cure. People try to bypass the inner work. But we have inner work to do. All day, all night, we're working. We're in prayer. We are connecting to Source. We are reminding ourselves, Plato said, that we are all in some kind of amnesia. We have forgotten our all-powerful, divine, godly self. So it's really connecting with, who do I want to be in this moment? Who am I going to be in the next 24 hours? Who am I in the next 24 seconds? Who am I going to be? These are moments where you're being tested. If you've done the inner work, it's not such a big test. It's like weightlifting, okay? If you're weightlifting, if you're doing your askesis, your exercises, your morning meditation, your all day referring back to Source, having some reminders during the day, and then in the evening, your evening meditation, then these things, you'll become a pro. Okay? You're like, no, don't need the chocolate cake, don't need the toxic relationship, don't need it. You're going to be, if you haven't done the work, okay, if you haven't worked the weights, then someone throws you a piece of, garbage, a heavy stone, it's going to take you down. Whereas if you're ready, you catch the stone and pop, throw it off. You're like, tack, tennis, you're in form. You're in forma, as we say. So it's really self-responsibility. Are you doing the work?
Identify the problem, the addiction, and then have the daily
It's the mindfulness.
routines.
It's the mindfulness, the sustaining your healthy way of living, your healthy way of thinking, so that you're better prepared to deal with the obstacles. That's the first thing. But, don't underestimate, it's a chemical addiction. It's not as light as positive thinking. You have to really realize that, my God, my body is in need of this person. My body is in need of this thing. Now, where does the need come from? Do the inner work. Where did you first learn to eat all that chocolate cake? Did your mother bribe you into doing your homework with, if you do your homework, you get chocolate cake? Where did you first learn to be attached to someone who was rejecting you, So you've got this behavior from it. You got to do that inner work. That's why it's called mindfulness. I don't know. There's no short solution, Some people, they'll say these little things like, here, have a rubber band, snap it, and wake yourself up. I go deeper, I go with a connection to divine spirit, to source, to God, to the universe. If you don't believe in all of that, that's okay too. Believe in your own divine self, your own self-worth. It's a self-love exercise. I mean, I struggle with it too, with the sweets, for example, or I have struggled in the past with a relationship where someone's not interested, doesn't particularly want me, and me holding on. I've seen it in myself. I see it. I'm not any better than anyone here. I'm just practicing, sisters, There's hypnosis, there's so many techniques, so many skills, meditations, but do your daily practice, do the work. There's no divine guru who's going to come, and those are useful things. You can go to a guru, get a blessing. You can do many things. You keep supporting yourself. It's an ongoing thing. It's an ongoing process.
Keep the vibes high.
Keep the vibes high. Yeah, exactly.
How do you do that when you're down, though? How do you just...
You got your list of things to do. You got your list of how do I get myself out of, that's a very good question. How do I get myself when I am very down? Well, the first thing to see is all day checking. How am I feeling? How's my body feeling? So catching it before it gets very heavy. Catching it before it gets heavy. But the other thing is, that's why my 3-step method. My 3-step method is offered for free on my website. All you have to do is go to www.alkistis.net and download the free course. Do the work, is that thought I had, because it's a thought that usually kind of triggers you into being down. I felt it myself, One thought, your energy's low, and then someone calls you or you get an invitation and you're like a whole different person. What happened? The story changed. So we got to get good at working that narrative, that story at any moment. That's a self-reflection. That's the philosophy work. There's no easy. It's a way of life, Do I want a peaceful life? Do I want a healthy? You work on many levels. Macro with your vision board, micro with your social circle. Making the list. I, for example, have a list of wonderful songs. I have a playlist. When I'm down, I'll listen to the playlist. I'll get into motion. I know that Alkistis likes walking, It changes parastasis. It changes the pictures. So you got to change your physical state. Drag yourself out. Now, does it sometimes include food? Yes. But does it have to be a whole chocolate cake or a whole jug of ice cream? No, you can have a little ice cream plus a banana, Balance it out. Give yourself if you're very needy. Letting go of, trying to save your parents and your grandparents sometimes, or your kids. That's another kind of inner work. That's more mental. But there is an addiction there. There is I know better. Sometimes even love is a negative addiction, you overlove and you're not letting them, what if they want to get fat? Let them get fat. Let them. They're over 70. They can do whatever the hell they want. You're not their mummy. I don't know. It's basically get yourself a thought that will liberate you. Get yourself any thought, catch on to any thought, whether it's past life, astrology, whatever story gets you out of your hole, use it. I invite you to join one of my monthly retreats on the Athens Riviera. Usually it's the first week of every month. Check out my website and join in my next monthly retreat, including yoga and manifestation. Coming up, a whole hour workshop that was made available to members of my YouTube channel, and you get to watch it for free. A whole workshop on overcoming addictions with step-by-step processes and tools. This is just so you can get a sample of what a workshop is like. I hold these workshops every Wednesday. They're called Wonder Wednesdays, and they're mainly for members of my YouTube channel. So you're just getting a sneak peek this time, and it's to encourage you to become a member of my channel. So, hello, my beautiful VIPs, very inspiring people. Today, we're going to talk about creating a new reality for you and your loved ones. But first, let me welcome my friends who are joining through the Zoom room, the VIP members joining through the Zoom room. Let me say hello to my friends coming in the Google Meeting room. Thank you for joining. I see Brett and Allison and Joyce, Donald. Hello, where are you tuning in from? Dubai, excellent. Deborah, Maria, welcome my dear friends. I see Joyce in the clubhouse. Janet, Andre, Sonia. Sorry if I'm missing you, but there are about 50 people in each of the chat rooms, so I'm not going to go down individually. I just want to welcome you to this evening's Manifestation Monday. Okay, and all of you are VIP members or have a special pass for today. As a VIP member, you can get access to all kinds of beautiful perks, including retreats here in Greece, one-to-one coaching online or in person, and many other goodies like the online course. So let's go. I want to tell you something. People say to me all the time, Dr. Agio, I'm in the unknown. I can't predict my future. And I always answer them the same way. The best way to predict your future is to create it. Not in the knowing, but in the unknown. So how many people in this audience believe in the idea that the way you think has some effect on your life? I'm just curious. So I'm in the right place, right? Yes? So all of this knowledge that you're learning this webinar, every time you learn something new, you make new connections in your brain. That's what learning is. And the Nobel Prize laureate Kandel in the year 2000 found that when people learned just one bit of information, they doubled the number of connections in their brain from 1,300 connections to 2,600 connections. But if they didn't review that information, if they didn't repeat it, if they didn't think about it, those circuits were pruned apart within hours or days. So if learning is making new synaptic connections, then remembering is maintaining and sustaining those connections. And I now know that if you give people sound scientific information, and science is the contemporary language of mysticism. Science demystifies the mystical. All of these new sciences point the figure at possibility. And as people begin to engage information, philosophical, theoretical knowledge, intellectual data, as they make those new connections in their brain, if they can turn to the person next to them and explain what they just learned, they're firing and wiring in those circuits in their brain, installing the neurological hardware in preparation for the experience. So then when they apply what they learn, when they personalize it, when they demonstrate it in some way, they're going to have to modify their behaviors. And if they can get their behaviors to match their intentions, if they can get their actions equal to their thoughts, their mind and body working together, you're going to have a new experience. And in the midst of an experience, all of your five senses plugged into the external environment. And as your brain is gathering all this vital sensory data, all that information rushes back to your brain, and jumbles of neurons begin to organize themselves into networks. The moment those neurons string into place, reinforcing ideas that were made, the brain makes a chemical. Now the chemical become emotions. So now you're teaching your body chemically to understand what your brain and body has understood. You can say that knowledge is for the mind, experience is for the body. And in that moment, you're embodying the truth of that philosophy, chemically instructing your body to understand what your mind has intellectually understood. And the moment you feel that emotion, you are literally signaling new genes and new waves, and you are rewriting the biological program. But if you've done it once, it means you should be able to do it again. And if you can repeat any experience over and over again, you are going to neurochemically condition your mind and body to work as one. So when you've trained something so many times that your body now knows how to do it better than your mind, now you're mastering that philosophy. It's enabling you. It's second nature. It's easy. It's familiar. You've practiced it so many times that you no longer have to consciously think about it. You know how you do it, but you don't even know how, because that was subconscious programming. So our job then is to go from philosopher to initiate to master, from knowledge to experience to wisdom, from mind to body to soul, from thinking to doing to being, to learning it with your head, practicing it with your hands, and knowing it by heart. And you and I have all the biological and neurological machinery to do this. And I can tell you right now that common people around the world are doing the uncommon. They're healing themselves of fatal diseases, reversing scars and wounds that were from past experiences from their childhood or from their adolescence, or they're creating better lives and new opportunities, and even having mystical experiences that transcend language. So what I'd like to do today is I'm going to develop concepts and ideas, and when I see you wrap your mind around that concept or idea, and you go from beta brainwave patterns that you are in now to alpha brainwave patterns, I know that you are consolidating that information neurologically in your brain, and you're going to begin to fire and wire those circuits in your brain in preparation for those experiences. You're going to begin to install the neurological hardware in your brain so that in your future you can access those futures to do something differently. How many of you understand what I'm saying? You should have some transformation in some way. And so when you walk back into your ordinary life, then your biology will be greater than the conditions in your life. Do you think your thoughts have something to do with your destiny? Of course they do. Well, you think 60 to 70,000 thoughts in a day. And out of those, 90% of those thoughts are the exact same thoughts as the day before. I know. It's like you're a robot on an automatic program. So 90% of your thoughts are the same thoughts as the day before, then your life should stay exactly the same, right? Logical. The same choices are going to lead to the same behaviors, yes or no? The same behaviors are going to create the same experiences, yes or no? The same experiences are going to create the same emotions, yes or no? And those same emotions are going to drive your very same thoughts and your biology, your neurocircuitry, your neurochemistry, your hormones, and even your genetic expression will stay the same. And there's a principle in neuroscience that says that nerve cells that fire together wire together. So if you keep thinking the same thoughts, making the same choices, demonstrating the same behaviors, creating the exact same experiences that stamp the same networks of neurons into the same patterns, all for the familiar feeling called you. In other words, your comfort zone, so that you can just feel like you. Let's imagine you keep doing this for the next 5, 10, 25 years. Would you agree that you hardwire your brain into that signature? It's your identity. It's what you've created. The most commonly fired box behaviored and emotions, which is acquired through frequent repetition, right? We're like robots on automatic pilot because those programs were put in a long time ago. So how you think, how you act, and how you feel is called your personality. And your personality creates your personal reality. That's it. So the present personality who's sitting here today, called you, has created the present personal reality called your life, yes or no? So then if you wanted to create a new personal reality, a new life, you would have to change your personality, yes or no? Which means you're going to have to start thinking about what you've been thinking about and change it, yes or no? Yes. You are going to have to become conscious of your unconscious habits and behaviors and become so aware of them that you don't go unconscious again, yes or no? And then you're going to have to look at those emotions that keep you anchored to the past and decide, do these emotions belong in my future? Yes or no? So most people try to create a new personal reality as the same personality, and it doesn't work. It literally have to become someone else to change your life. Your brain is organized to reflect everything you know in your life. Your brain is a record of the past. It's an artifact of everything you've learned and experienced till this moment. Are you with me still? So then, if you're not being defined by a vision of the future, you're left with the old circuits of your past, and you'll be predictable in your life. Yes or no? Yes. And if feelings and emotions are the end products of past experiences, and we can remember experiences better because we remember how they feel, the moment you wake up in the morning and you come back to your senses and you lay in bed and you start thinking about all your problems that are connected to different people and places and conditions and things in your life, the moment you get in touch with the familiar feeling called you, you're in your past. And if those emotions are driving your thoughts and you can't think greater than how you feel, our feelings have become the means of thinking, then you are thinking in the past, yes or no? You just told me that you believe that your thoughts have something to do with your destiny. And if you can't think greater than how you feel, your past is your future, yes or no? How you think and how you feel is called the state of being. That thoughts are the vocabulary of the brain, and feelings are the vocabulary of your body. That cycle of thinking and feeling creates your state of being. Now think about this. If your brain is a record of the past, hardwired via in a certain way, because most people are thinking, acting, and feeling the same way. And they have emotions that they've become so familiar with that they don't even know that they feel guilty. It's just is how they feel. They don't even know that they're unhappy because that's how they define themselves. And if those emotions are driving your thoughts, turning on the same circuits in your brain, firing at the same exact sequence, patterns, and combinations, firing and wiring those circuits to produce certain chemicals for them to feel more suffering and more guilt, the moment they feel more guilt and more suffering, wow, I'm feeling pretty bad. So they think more thoughts equal to how they feel. And the cycle of thinking and feeling creates their state of being. And the redundancy of that process conditions the body to subconsciously become the mind. And now your entire state of being is in the past. Are you with me still? And you can't go to a new future holding on to the emotions of the past. Now your body is your unconscious mind. And it does not know the difference between an experience in your life that creates an emotion that you are creating by thought alone. So the body is believing it's in the same past experience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And if the body's been conditioned to be the mind, the body is literally in the past. How many people understand? So then to change then would mean then that you'd have to be greater than your body, yes or no? Greater than the emotions that keep you anchored to the past, and greater than those habits that keep running you unconsciously into the same future. Are you with me still? You've all had experiences in your life that have produced a strong emotion, yes or no? Whether it's a trauma or betrayal or a shock or something amazing that happens, the moment you feel differently inside of you, you pay attention to what caused it outside of you. And the moment that happens, the brain takes a snapshot, and that's called a memory. So the stronger the emotional quotient from an experience, the greater the long-term memory, yes or no? So then people have a reaction to someone or something in your life, and you don't know how to control your emotional reaction. And you allow that emotional reactions to linger for hours or days. You know what that's called? That's called a mood. I'm not in the mood. I'm in a good mood. I'm in a bad mood. I'm in a mood. What's wrong? I thought you'd never ask. I had this thing happen to me 5 days ago, and I'm memorizing my emotional reactions. Yes or no? And if you keep that same refractory period of chemicals running for weeks or months, that's called a temperament. Why is he so bitter? Why is she so angry? I don't know. Let's ask him. What's wrong with you? I had this thing happen to me 7 months ago, and I'm having one long emotional reaction. Yes or no? And if you keep that same period of emotions for years on end, that's called a personality trait. And most people's personality are defined by their past experiences. And they wear their emotions on their sleeve or on their forehead because that's who they think they are. And so then someone goes up to them and says, "Buddy, why are you this way?" And he'll say, "Well, I'm this way because this experience happened to me 10 years ago," which from a biological standpoint, it means that I had an event in my life that altered me, And I have not been able to change since that moment. So then think about this. The latest research in memory, the latest scientific research tells us that 50% of what you talk about in your past isn't even the truth of what happened. You're making it up. It's your narrative. It's a story. Your memory is being creative. It's interpreting things. So many people are reliving a past that they didn't even have. So then you wake up in the morning and you're like, wait. I don't feel anything. I feel a little dizzy. Oh, I feel a little guilty, or I feel a little anxious. Oh, that's familiar. So now I'm ready to start my day. So the moment you feel that emotion, you're in your past, because emotions are a record of the past. If those emotions are driving your thoughts or driving your behaviors, you're going to be predictable in your life because your past is going to be your future. How many people understand now? Good. You think an insecure thought, you feel insecure. Yes or no? The moment you feel insecure, the brain is checking in with the body and saying, oh, you're really feeling insecure. So yeah, let's generate some more insecure thoughts. And you're going to make more chemicals for you to feel insecure. And then the moment you feel insecure, those feelings are going to drive your thoughts. So then you're going to continuously hardwire, reinforce the old program because you keep thinking the same way. And you continuously condition your body emotionally from your past. So your entire state of being is in the past. And if you're not being defined by a vision of the future, then your past will be your future. How many people understand me? So that to change then would be to be greater than your body has been conditioned by your past. So you wake up in the morning you come back to your senses, you glance over to the person laying next to you or your pillow, and you're like, oh God, how did I get here? Who is that person laying next to me? And then you remember, and then you're like, oh, now you're feeling all your problems, and then you're like, oh yeah, that feels familiar. That's myself. This is my life. And so then what do? You reach for your cell phone, and then you check your WhatsApp. You check your Twitter, your X, your Facebook, your Instagram, your text, then you check your email, and then you check your other email, LinkedIn, and then you tweet something. And now you're really connected to your past, present reality. Yes or no? Then you get up out of the same side of the bed every day because you sleep on the same side. You put your slippers on. You scratch yourself the same way. You put your robe on, and you have the thought of the toilet. And the next thing you know, your body follows your mind right to the toilet. Yes or no? Your body follows your mind. You have the vision of the shower. And the next thing you know, you're naked, you're in the shower, and you're washing yourself the same routine way. And then while you're in the shower, you have this incredible vision of yourself dressed and what you're going to wear into the kitchen, and you drink your coffee from your cup, and then you'll have cereal facing the same way, facing the same chair with the same spoon, or you may watch the news to remind you how bad the world is. You get in the car, back up, drive to work the same way, see the same people that push the same emotional buttons. Now, even if you're a housewife, you're going through certain routines, or you're working from home, you're going through certain routines, and then you think about your competition, and that stresses you all out. You use your friends to reaffirm your addiction to suffering. You use your parents to reaffirm your addiction to guilt, and you just are addicted to so many negative, fearful, anxious thoughts. Then you go into the grocery store sometime and you go down the corridors that you want to buy the same food. You go home, you cook the same meal, you eat the same food, you sit in the same chair, you watch the same television show. You get done, you call your sister or your brother or your girlfriend and you complain about how bad your day was. And then she complains back and, you complain back to her. And then all of a sudden, you brush your teeth, you floss, you get in bed and you go to sleep and you wake up the next morning and here we go again. Yes or no? So did your brain change at all that day? No. You could say that you were thinking the same thoughts, performing the same actions, living by the same emotions, but secretly you expect your life to change. So if a habit is a redundant set of automatic, unconscious thoughts, behaviors, and emotions, that's acquired through frequent repetition. The habit is when you've done something so many times that your body now knows how to do it better than your mind. So would you agree that the moment you wake up and you've been doing it for 20 years, your body is on autopilot and it's dragging you into a predictable future based on what you did in the past? Yes or no? And you can take your past, lift it up, and put it onto your future. And you know what it's called? Karma. Because you're living the same life every single day, and you've lost your will for a program. And 95% of most people, by the time they're 35 years old, it's a set of automatic programs, automatic thoughts, emotional reactions, unconscious behaviors and beliefs and perceptions and attitudes function just like a computer program. And now they're going to try to change your life with the 5% of your conscious mind working against 95% of what you've programmed subconsciously. Are you with me still? So you can think positively all you want. You can say, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm making $50,000 a month, $50,000 a month. And that is never going to enter the body. Okay, it will stay in the brain because the body is programmed in the past. So if you're not being defined by a vision of the future, the moment you wake up in the morning and you see the same people and you go to the same places and you do the exact same thing at the exact same time every single day, now your personal reality is creating your personality. Because it's your environment that's causing you to think and feel equal to everything that you know. Are you with me? As long as you're thinking and feeling equal to everything that you know, you keep creating more of the same. How many people understand? Great. So every single person in your life, every single thing, it has a neurological pattern in your mind because you've experienced it. So the moment you see your boss or your husband or wife, the moment you enter your house, the moment you're driving your car, the moment you're reacting to someone or something, the moment you see that person, it's your external environment that's turning on different circuits in your brain, causing you to think equal to everything that you know. So that as long as you're thinking equal to everything that you know, you keep creating more of the same, yes or no? So then to change, to truly change, is to be greater than your environment, to be greater than the circumstances in your life, to be greater than the conditions in your world. And every great person in history understood this. So then the moment you are being defined by a vision of the future, and that vision that was greater than the conditions in your environment, then you would have to agree with me. You're no longer in your past, you're being greater than the conditions in your environment. So then what does it take? A clear intention. Telos. In Greece, we call it telos, the ending, the outcome. How many people in this audience have a wild idea? What would it like to be really wealthy, to be free, to be healthy? The moment you ask that frontal lobe question, all of a sudden the creative center of the brain is turned on. And this is what you did. You said, oh my God, let me just be open to an answer. And the frontal lobe has a connection to all other parts of the brain. And like a great symphony leader, it begins to call up different networks of neurons that are already mapped in your brain from the things you've learned, the things you've experienced in your life, and then seamlessly pieces them together, and you get a vision. And that's called your intention, all right? You're selecting a new potential in the quantum field that you haven't experienced yet. And to the passionate person, the morning they have that vision, the thought becomes the experience. And the end product of an experience is an emotion. And they start to feel the emotions of their future before it's happened. And the moment you feel that emotion, you're raising your energy, and your body is getting a sampling, a taste of the future. And when you combine a clear intention with an elevated emotion, you just changed your state of being from living in your past present reality to living in your future present reality. But that's just the beginning, because everybody in this audience sat down and said, okay, what choices do I have to make? Let me review them in my mind. Yes or no? Then you said, what behaviors do I have to demonstrate? What are the things that I have to do? And you reviewed those. What goals do I want to accomplish? What experiences await for me? And as you begin to write these goals and experiences down, you would start to feel more elevated, right? But then you did something really brilliantly. You wrote down the thoughts that you no longer wanted to think. And you became conscious of those unconscious thoughts. I can't, it's too hard, it didn't work in the past, I'll start tomorrow, I don't feel like it. And you became so conscious of those unconscious thoughts that they will never slip by your awareness unchecked. And then you said, what choices do I have to stay away from? And you began to become conscious of those unconscious choices that you've been making all day. And you became so conscious of them that you wouldn't go unconscious again. And then you said, what behaviors and things that I'm going to stay away from and change. And you review them. What experiences that I know that I have to stay away from in my environment, and what emotions will bring me to a lower denominator. And every day you reviewed who you no longer wanted to be and who you did want to be. And over again, you'll keep doing it. And you know what you do then? You gave up your social engagements. You might not have slept in. You just changed habits. Because now you're more passionate, because you're putting your attention and your energy in the future and not your past. And if you keep doing this over and over and over again, all of a sudden you'll start getting these signals in your world, little synchronicities, little coincidences that your environment is reflecting back to you that you're on the right path. And then there came a moment where you know it's going to happen. When you just take your foot off the gas, the moment you did that, you're just allowing the experience to come to you. You're relaxed, you're chilled. And the moment you felt gratitude and wholeness, and so you start changing character, you become more loving, caring, grateful, more present, more forgiving in your life, because you feel better about yourself. So now here's my question. Think of a time in your life where you were being defined by a vision of a future that you sought and it didn't happen. What happened then? You got a clear intention. You got inspired. You felt the elevated emotion. You were in a whole new state of being. And then you know what happened? I'll tell you. You got busy. You didn't have enough time for it. You had people to see and places to go. You got distracted. Parties, dinners. And you got distracted by your external environment. or you just didn't feel like it one day because you were tired or had a headache, or you had a fight with someone 3 days ago. And all of that means then that it was your body, your environment in time that talked you out of that future. And the moment you shrunk back into mediocrity, you found people in your life who did the same, and people use each other to reaffirm their addiction to mediocrity, and they call that normal. So the hardest part about change is not making the same choice as you did the day before. And here's the old self, and here's the new self. You have to cross a river. And the moment you decide to make a different choice, get ready, because it's going to feel uncomfortable. There's going to be some uncertainty. It's going to feel unfamiliar. It's going to become unpredictable. And the moment you say, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to change, and you're going to decide to make those changes, you just stepped into that river. And if the body has been conditioned to be the mind, the servant is now the master. Now the body's running the show. And guess what happens the moment you step into the unknown? The body says, whoa, this doesn't feel right. And it starts sending signals back to the brain. And you start to hear voices in your head. And those voices are, start tomorrow. This doesn't feel right. It's my mother's fault. It's my ex-husband's fault. It's my ex-wife's fault. It's the politician's fault. What's wrong with me? It must be something wrong with me. And it's the same thoughts that you've always had. It's just happening behind the scenes of your awareness. But now you've become mindful and conscious of it. And if you respond to the same thought as you always do, the same thought is going to lead to the same choice. The same choice is going to lead to the same behavior. The same behavior is going to create the same experience. The same experience is going to produce the same emotion. And then people say, this feels right. This is, here I'm comfortable. You know, it feels familiar. Going from the old self to the new self is the neurological, biological, chemical, hormonal, genetic death of the old self. And people say to me all the time, Dr. Agio, I feel anxiety. I can't predict my future. And I always answer the same. The best way to create your future is to create it, not in the known, but in the unknown. Becoming comfortable in that place is the mastery. What thoughts do you want to fire and wire in your brain and put your attention behind? What behaviors do you want to demonstrate in one day, one lifetime? And as you begin to rehearse those behaviors in your mind and you're truly present, the brain does not know the difference between the experience going on out there and the experience going on in here. And now you're installing the neurological hardware to look like the experience has already occurred. And now your brain is no longer a record of the past. Now it is a map to the future. And so then the last part is the tough part, because can you teach your body emotionally what that future is going to feel like before it's made manifest? That means you cannot wait for your wealth to feel abundance and confidence and worthiness. You can't wait for your success to feel empowerment and gratitude. You can't wait for the new relationship to feel love. You can't wait for your healing to feel wholeness. You can't wait for a mystical moment to feel, that's the old model of reality of cause and effect, waiting for something outside of us to give us relief for the emptiness that we feel inside of us. The more we feel better inside of us, we pay attention to a new memory. In the quantum model of reality is about causing and effecting. The moment you feel starting worthy and abundant, you are magnetizing